It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome back to the Financial Crisis Talk Center. This is a carryover segment, and we're carrying over, this is part 2 of 2, on a case study of the brother-in-law, Charlie, who was too nice. So if you remember, I'm going to set the stage what we had with Charlie, and then we'll go through it. Charlie agreed to guarantee debts for his brother-in-law, Artie. Charlie's married to Lucy. Charlie and Lucy, they're making $300,000. Charlie's a professional. He makes $300,000 a year. Lucy's a nurse. She makes $60,000. They've got a nice house, but it's underwater. They have an $800,000 first mortgage. It's underwater. They have a second mortgage of $100,000. The house is only worth about $400,000, so they're way underwater. The debts that they guaranteed for Artie in the printing business, a couple $100,000 on a bank loan for the building, which is now worthless because it's in a bad area. Nobody's buildings are not selling. He's got a couple $100,000 that he guaranteed on leases, of which he owes $100,000. He's got credit card debt for the business.
You forgot the other debt.
He's got $75,000 on tax debt.
No.
What? What did I forget?
The yacht.
There's no yacht.
There's a yacht.
No, there's no yacht on this.
Give him a boat.
No, because we have the numbers are worked.
I want him to have a boat.
We have slides for the show, and we have a whole outline.
I want him to have a boat.
Fine, he's got a boat. He's got a speedboat.
Okay.
He's got $35,000-$40,000 he owes on a speedboat. Okay, you happy?
Then he bought it used.
Okay, so he's got. Okay. So we gave him a boat. All right, so we gave him a boat. All right, so here's the situation now. Where we left off is we said he made big mistakes by being a check signer, and he got assessed as an officer of the company $75,000 on the taxes, which when we analyzed it in the last segment, we said maybe we can find a way to use Chapter 7 to get rid of this massive amount of debt we can, but we can't do that with the taxes. So what is his strategy on the taxes? Well, let's just throw it out to make it simple. If he only owes $50,000 or less in taxes, then under current IRS guidelines, you can automatically qualify for an installment payment that will allow you to pay the debt off up to 72 months. And if you allow a direct debit from your checking account to make the payment, they will not lien you.
Correct.
Which is a good outcome. So that's the smart play for him on the taxes. We can just kind of put it on the shelf for now, because we have a lot of other problems we have to deal with. We have to deal with the $200,000 building loan that he's being sued on by the bank, the $100,000 in equipment leases, the deficiency there, he's being sued on by the equipment companies, the $200,000 in business credit card debt that he's being sued on, and as well as the tax liability. We have to figure out what should he do.
I wanted to say one quick thing, and then we'll leave the taxes. It becomes extremely important when you seek these automatic fresh start installment agreements that you include all of your tax periods as long as you're under that $50,000 threshold. If you don't include a tax period, which is usually a more recent tax period, then that will trigger a default in a matter of weeks.
A tax period that you haven't paid the taxes on.
Yes. Yes,
sure.
You must include all the periods, get under the 50 or under, and then you could take advantage of it and not have a lien and move on.
Yeah, actually, while we're on that, let's make one other important point that often comes up with installment payments. Once you enter into an installment payment, you must stay current on your current tax liabilities. If you fail to pay your current taxes, that will default the installment payment and cause problems. That sometimes happens to people, and that doesn't mean go dive in the water and call it a day. What that means, cut you guys there. What that means is if that situation arises, you have to be proactive. You have to potentially contact the IRS. You should do it through a representative and structure a new payment arrangement. But it will automatically default if you do nothing, because once that return gets filed and it shows you haven't paid the tax, the computer system will pick it up and it'll kick out an automatic default. And then you can start getting levied.
I would tell you, though, in this situation with Charlie, I wouldn't necessarily be so concerned about whether or not the IRS, in this specific set of facts, is going to lean or not lean Charlie, because as long as you can get Charlie in some sort of a payment agreement with the service, you can utilize the $75,000 in unpaid payroll taxes to his advantage in the processing and determination of whether or not he qualifies for Chapter 7.
Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis. We have some clients where a lien is detrimental to their employment. It could be related to their series brokerage licenses, CPAs, e-filing status. So I agree with you, Brian. It all depends. For this purposes, it's probably not the end of the world if there's a lien.
Do we agree that Lucy does not need to be jumping into the water and being suicidal? We can put Lucy back in the Corvette for now.
And Lucy's brother is the one that caused all this.
So maybe we should throw Lucy back into the water?
In fact, what
Charlie
we're going
wants
to do
to
here
throw Lucy into the water.
Yes, Brian.
Is we're going to look at whether or not Charlie and Lucy, especially Charlie, should be filing a Chapter 7.
Yeah, that's all right. So let's recap where we were on that. What we said was there's an exception to the means test in Chapter 7 if you have more business debt than personal debt. You could file a Chapter 7, and it doesn't matter what your current earnings are.
To a certain extent.
But what about Charlie's $500,000 in his 401k?
Absolutely nobody can touch that except for good old Uncle Sam.
So if he doesn't pay his $75,000 in the payroll taxes, could Uncle Sam take his 401k?
Absolutely.
But if he has an installment agreement, David, on the taxes, he's okay?
He will be protected.
So that's the way he takes care of protecting his 401k.
All right, so at first blush, where are we?
We now need to examine the business debt versus the personal debt for Charlie and for Lucy. And here's how it works.
Gotcha.
In Charlie's case, personal debts come to this. He's got $100,000 on the credit cards, $800,000 on the first mortgage, $100,000 on the second mortgage. His total personal debt is an even Steven $1 million. On the business debt, he's got the $200,000 building loan, $100,000 on the equipment loans, $200,000 on credit cards, $75,000 on payroll taxes. That's a total of $575,000. That means right now, as of now, his personal debt exceeds his business debt, which is a problem.
And at this point, Chapter 7 is what I would say.
And after the break, we'll talk about what to do.
No one ever thinks that a serious injury can happen to them, but it can, and it does. And it can happen to you. And when it does, you need a fighter in that courtroom for you. Call me, Ben Johnson. Automobile accident, police misconduct, medical malpractice, product liability. You know what you're up against, how hard it is to get answers. When all you want is justice, call me, Ben Johnson. Whatever your legal crisis, I will fight for you. Call me today.
Ken Gross, attorney, talk show host, and leader in the law, reveals his secrets to leveling the financial playing field in his book, Dump Your Debt.
The rules of the game have changed. Now the banks get the bailouts at our expense. Dump Your Debt is your bailout. It tells you what you need to know to shed credit card debt, solve tax problems, and exit a house underwater.
Buy Dump Your Debt online at Amazon.com.
It's the game changer you deserve.
Don't let legal problems destroy your family or your life. Get the justice you deserve. I'm Sabrina Cronin of the Cronin Law Firm, and I'm here to make things right. My firm handles family law, business law, and even criminal law. We can handle all of your legal needs. So whatever you're facing, I'm here to get you justice. You can't afford not to call. Call 855-CRONIN-LAW today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Carrying too much debt? Dump your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're back. All right, so we're talking about good old Charlie. Charlie's got himself in a big problem because he was the nice guy trying to help his brother-in-law Artie out, and he's guaranteed all these debts. When we left off at the break, we said if we could have more business debt than personal debt, he could file a Chapter 7. The problem is he's got $1 million in personal debt and $575,000 in business debt. Just as an aside, Lucy is not even a question mark. She has $60,000 in credit card debt. She also is on the mortgage, so it's $900,000 between the two mortgages. She's got $960,000 of personal debt and zero business debt in this situation.
So the $800,000 mortgage is the problem.
The mortgage is the problem. Lucy clearly cannot file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy anyway because she has no business debt. So what can we do? Well, here's the problem. Just like David is saying, is the house is underwater. It's not worth $900,000. It's only worth about $400,000 or $500,000. If we could short sell the house and get rid of it, at that point, the amount of personal debt would go down. Alternatively, if the house went to foreclosure and the debt's going to go down by the amount of the bid. If it goes to foreclosure and it's bid for $500,000,
then that would be a $300,000 deficiency
on the first mortgage, and you'd still have the second mortgage debt of $100,000.
So you're $800,000.
You drive that down
to $300,000.
Eventually, what that means is that
on the first plus 100 on the second.
By allowing the foreclosure, if the bid is high enough, what will happen is the business debts will now exceed the personal debts, making Charlie eligible for a Chapter 7 because the means test does not apply. His income is relatively irrelevant in a Chapter 7 situation where the means test is not applicable because the majority of his debts are business-related debts.
I mean, if he was making $1 million a year, isn't there a rule that kind of goes against that business exception where it's an abuse type of a situation?
It really comes down to the stink test.
But this doesn't stink.
No, this isn't going to
stink. What stinks for Charlie is Artie running the printing business and making the mistakes of guaranteeing the debt. All right, so let's stay on the house for a second. It's just, you don't want just like, okay, short sell the house and it's gone, or let it go to foreclosure. If that happened, let's assume these are the facts. We short sell the house. The deficiency now is left at, well, let's say we let the house go to foreclosure, and the mortgage company comes in and bids at the foreclosure sale $400,000 for the house.
I'll ask you a question. We have a 6-month redemption period. Does that come into play on this analysis? Do we have to wait 6 months for the deficiency to occur?
No, because the debt arises once the bid is made. The deficiency exists.
So we've got Charlie who's being sued by multiple credit card companies. He's got litigation against him by the lender on the personal guarantee from the business, and he's got Uncle Sam on his back for the taxes.
We got to hold them off until we get the foreclosure sale. We get the house. Until we either short sell the house or we get the foreclosure sale. The sale occur. We don't have to wait for the redemption, the 6-month redemption to run, but we need the sale to occur to reduce the amount of the debt. Once the lender bids at the foreclosure sale, the lender has effectively bought the home at a price of, let's assume the lender bid $400,000 for the
Because
home.
worst case scenario, that's going to be the difference. So we could do both. If we needed the timing was that critical, you could do both.
Whichever way gets you there quickest.
Okay,
You can start doing
okay.
it. All right, so now let's assume that's what happened. And we now have driven down our business debt to 100,000 credit cards, 400 the deficiency on the first mortgage, 100 on the second mortgage, for $600,000 personal debt. His business debt is still 200 business loan, 100 equipment loans, 200 business credit cards, 75,000 on taxes, 575. He's close.
Charlie's still got a problem. He can't file yet.
He's only 25,000 away. He was hundreds and hundreds of thousands before.
So what does he do?
Well, there's a lot of opportunity.
$1 is $100,000. What does he do?
We settle some of the personal debt.
What's the easiest solution?
We settle some of the personal debt.
So he goes and picks. He's got to get rid of $26,000 worth of debt. So go and take one of the credit cards that he owes. Let's say we go on the second mortgage, $100,000. We call up the second lender and say, he's in debt. He's broke. We offer the second lender $5,000.
Well, let's point out that this is actually based on a real story. And the second mortgage in reality was $110,000, and we settled it for $10,000 through some hardline negotiations.
And in that case, we needed to reduce the debt by like $90,000. So we didn't need to just reduce it by 25.
So you
like
settle
in this
out
case.
the second mortgage for pennies on the dollar.
Settle the second or settle a credit card. Now we have him to the point where his business debt exceeds his personal debt.
We're in the money.
Well, what do we do then, Brian?
I filed a Chapter 7, and we eliminated all of it except for the tax debt, which was under a payment plan.
What about his 401k?
Nobody touched it.
Well, wait. What about his Corvette?
Well, to the extent that his Corvette was...
If he had a lien on the Corvette.
...was either secured to the value, or we could... In a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, there's still only so many things you can protect.
What do you get to keep?
You can keep, per person, approximately $12,000 in furniture and furnishings, and approximately $12,000 in cash or other assets, and $3,450 equity in your car.
Wait a second.
No, hold on.
I'm second.
How long did it take for the 7 to get filed to discharged?
It's about a 4-month process.
Okay, so in 4 months, what happened to the 4 credit card lawsuits for $200,000?
All gone.
What happened to the house?
Gone.
What happened to his 401k for $500,000?
Still there.
And what happened to his second mortgage?
Gone.
And what was he able to do with his car?
In this case, as I recall, he actually kept his car.
Okay, and what about all of his personal effects and stuff?
Kept them.
Was the car a Corvette?
The car wasn't a Corvette.
We'll take a break. I want to come back and talk about the Corvette.
Do you have tax problems, unfiled returns, facing levies on wages in your property? You need an expert, not a cartoon character or salesman. Thav Gross is your solution.
You need to look at the big picture. That's what we do. We develop a plan that's right for you.
I had major tax problems. I didn't know what to do.
We did. We sat down together and solved your tax problem.
No more letters, no more phone calls. They saved me.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Financially strapped? Do you want to save your home?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Double Action, shooting center and gun shop for the largest selection of guns, accessories, and ammunition. Double Action is your only pro gun shop. And now you can train with the best in our basic CCW course with the most comprehensive curriculum, the best resources, and most accomplished staff. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. Double Action is the only place to get your CCW or renewal. Double Action. We're on DeQuinder and Madison Heights.
Carrying too much debt? Dump your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Welcome back. All right, so Charlie was able to get himself into the benefit of a Chapter 7 and wipe out $200,000 on credit card debt, $200,000 on the bank loan, $100,000 deficiency on the equipment leases. He's paying his taxes off over 6 years on an installment plan. He's still making $360,000 a year. Charlie and Lucy are now smiling again. They're going for a stroll, and I still have them driving around in the Corvette, Brian. And the reason why they're driving around in the Corvette is because Jerry, the bartender, told them they could keep the Corvette if they file a bankruptcy. So I want to find out, in what circumstances could Jerry have guessed right and be correct, or are we going to take this nice car and throw it into the house underwater in the bowl and drown it into the river?
Well, the reality is that keeping an automobile is contingent upon a couple of different things. One, let's assume it's paid for. If it's completely paid for, then you're entitled to keep a certain amount of assets, as I was saying before the break.
So this car is worth $30,000. Can you keep that?
If it's worth $30,000, you have to look at how it's titled. If it's titled in both of their names, Charlie and Lucy's, that means each owns $15,000.
And then he could protect it.
We could protect most of it. Charlie might have to write a very small check to the trustee to keep the difference, to buy his equity.
That's good enough. They're smiling. They're going to get to keep their car. They can drive around in their car.
But are they all the way home?
No. We have to analyze other. What about Lucy?
Just for the record, they also could reaffirm the obligation on the automobile if there's a secured interest in the car.
Good point. Right. So there's a way. So Jerry in this case was right, even though he doesn't know what he's talking about half the time. But he's good on.
Jerry doesn't know what he's talking about.
Here's the key point, though. Here's the key point.
This is a more key point.
No,
I want to thank our sponsors: Cronin Law Firm, Van Johnson Law, Gold Star Law. Our newest sponsors: Samasco Law and Double Action Shooting Range and Gun Shop. We appreciate the support. Okay.
Here's the key point, though.
What's the key
Charlie and Lucy who hold the power and hold the option to decide what they want to do with that car. They could let it go, they could pay a couple grand for it, or they could reaffirm it, but it's in their control and their power, and that's what the 7 did for them.
And they're just driving around happy as can be is what they're doing. All right, now, we're not done, because Lucy still had $60,000 of credit card debt. Now, options for Lucy. Lucy can just pay the credit cards if she wants. They're making $360,000 a year.
At 30% interest.
But can Lucy file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy?
In the scenario
and on our facts?
And the facts that we've set up, no.
Because
now Lucy's personal debt exceeds her business
She doesn't have any business
right.
debt.
And so therefore, the mean test, or the means test, applies to her. She would have to take it.
And the means test applies not only to her $60,000 of income, but also the household income with Charlie's $300,000.
Absolutely.
She can clearly.
Hold on. What about a 13?
Too much income.
No. Chapter 13 they qualify for a 13?
But they have too much income.
But they would repay the debt in full. And since Lucy's already harmed her credit
because of everything going
everything
into
that's
default,
happened,
the foreclosure and everything
there's no
else.
point at all in repaying anybody in full.
So what does Lucy
ever.
do?
Lucy settles her credit card debt through debt negotiation, debt resolution.
What we call debt resolution. And so what on that 60, what is she likely going to pay? About
between $18,000 and $24,000.
Absolutely. So that's the plan on Lucy. Lucy could pay off the credit card debt. She has the income to do it, but she's already ruined her credit by virtue of the house going into foreclosure and everything that happened. So if you've already taken the hit on your credit score, why pay the credit cards when you can just as well settle them and be done with them, and then your credit's going to come back
I'll go one
anyway.
further. Why continue to pay the credit cards even if you haven't taken a hit on your credit score? Why do you want to pay for debts of the past with your income of the future?
Well, does that mean you should never pay a credit card your whole life? If I owe Bank of America $5,000, should I stop paying them and not be able to use the credit card anymore? There's a certain point in time where it makes sense to continue to have credit cards, isn't it?
I agree, but when you've gotten yourself
What do you think,
$40,000,
David?
$50,000, $60,000 in
It's all
credit
about
card debt,
diapers. We know that.
at some point, if you've gotten that far into debt, I'm not going to let him take it to shut. No, don't.
Is that a line from a movie or something? I've never heard that.
At
It's
some
all-
point, when you're that far into debt, there's no reason to keep paying all the juice.
That's fine. Brian, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I can't just leave this. What did the diapers
You're
have to
gonna walk
do?
into it
Because it depends. It depends.
Ah.
I want to ask you to do some quick math. You have an
It's
accounting background.
ridiculous.
You have an accounting background.
Yes.
We have gone through a metamorphosis, our client has, that now they could not take 1 cent towards their retirement, towards a 401k or a SEP or whatever. If you've got a couple making $360,000 that has discharged all of the obligations except for a $70,000 tax liability that they're paying over 6 years, assume now that they're putting $20,000 a year into a retirement vehicle.
Forget that. They could put $33,000
I'm
or
trying to
$34,000.
even be conservative. Where are they going to be?
They're going to be sitting well, it all depends.
There we go.
There we go.
There
again.
we go.
Did they learn their lesson? What if
Let's
next
do
month,
bad news bears. Do bad news bears.
What if next month Artie shows up and says,
No,
I've got
no,
this great
no,
idea,
no.
Charlie. Let's go into a business. I need you to guarantee some debt.
Bad news bears.
What's bad news bears?
Let's assume that they learned their lesson.
If they learn their lesson, they start just putting the money away in their 401k or their IRAs, continue their income 20 years. They're going to retire with $3-4 million. They'll be fine.
And that's the goal of a fresh start through a Chapter 7.
They'll be old people driving very slowly in their A&T Corvette, living happily ever after, driving in Phoenix or Florida. Thanks
So
for
then,
listening. Oh, no, we got some time.
So then when they go, their kids get millions of dollars.
You just killed them? Oh, my goodness. Want to remind people that we've got seminars.
No, they float.
We've got seminars coming. Well, they're floating face down in the water. Seminars coming up. Check our website, stavgos.com,
Looks like they're visiting Casey
fctalkcenter.com. Typically, they're on Wednesdays or Thursdays, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. We go through all of these issues in detail. It's a worthwhile chance to explore your options. Any wrap-up comments for Charlie and Lucy?
Hey, enjoy your
here's
fresh
the question.
start.
Are Charlie and Lucy friends with Artie and Franny still?
Not
Of course. Blood is thicker than water.
We'll be back with the Financial Crisis Talk Center.